The tech industry is a very frothy market right now, with a lot of people looking at high valuations and how to find the next big candidate, especially for an IPO. And with me is Curtis Sparrer, who launched Bospar Public Relations in San Francisco. And you work with tech companies, try to distinguish them as leaders in their industries. And I guess just tell me the current state of tech PR right now, Curtis.
Well, right now, most companies are trying to be thought of as the leaders in their space. And they are trying to be the Netflix, Google, Apple.
Sure.
And the whole thing is really, defining category leadership and being thought of as the de facto leader in that space.
Okay, and how do you do that?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm going to say PR because that's how, these companies got to where they are. And it's a matter of, defining, why they're number one, getting influencers to talk about them, being, seen on the circuits, and, appearing in the sort of stories that really establish a company as the leader. And that's really important.
Okay, and a lot of these leaders are disruptors of industries.
Right.
So how do you establish them as a disruptor?
Well, when it's a disruptor, it's about bringing in the experts who know the space very, very well and educating them and explaining how things used to be done and how things need to change and the pain points that are being solved right now and the pain points that are going to be solved in the future. But the key is some companies aren't, quite disruptive. And so what we then do is create category within categories.
I saw you said that. That was really interesting kind of strategy. Can you give me an example of that?
Well, consider artificial intelligence. It's a very broad category. But for one company, we said, hey, you're the leader in conversational AI.
Interesting.
You are the leader in that. And the big problem, of course, is that people want customer service 24/7. They want everyone to have information, but they don't necessarily have it. So by creating the space of conversational AI, our client was able to lead it and be the leader in that company, and that has helped them immeasurably.
Yeah. Now, I work with a lot of PR companies, of course, and one thing I see is like people kind of want instant results. They want to know, they pay a certain amount of money and they want to be famous the next day, but this is like a process, right?
It is a process.
How does that, explain how that works from your side of the industry.
Well, our research shows that the typical American will not visit a company's site unless they see it about 7 times in the news. And that has to be in all sorts of different spaces. It can't be just the typical spaces that they would go to. And so in order to really build up a company's reputation, we're looking at avenues for them to appear, to be interesting, and to comment on the news that matters to people today. You can't just say, hey, my company is awesome. You have to be thinking, okay, what are things that Americans care about, and how do we relate to that, and how can we help them?
Yeah, and attach it to like something going on in the news too. It's always helpful.
Right.
It always helps you get attention, makes it a little newsy. Somebody could be an expert in an industry.
Well, you're also helping journalists who are working on stories of the day that matter to them. And so by being able to be a resource to them at that point, you plant yourself in their ear, and later on when they have a chance to do a feature, they'll come back to you.
Now, how does what you do work with advertising?
Well, advertising is great for an immediate click-through. It's really good for that sort of thing. PR is a much longer yardstick because we are trying to do something that's enduring. We're not saying, use us now, buy us now. We're trying to do something different, which sometimes is, buy us now, but sometimes it's much more like we are a visionary. And that is the thing that's going to truly make companies leaders.
Yeah, and it's how you build a brand over time. It just takes time to do that. I remember one of my first jobs was in radio. And just when I remember the program director saying, when you get sick of a song, it's just when everybody else starts to become aware of it. So I think it does. It's that repetition that really helps.
It is that repetition, but it has to be a repetition that is still interesting. It has to be a message that evolves with the times and is meaningful each moment of the day. So you can't go with the same story, that you started with. You have to build on that and adjust for news events that really matter.
Yeah. Now, you have grown tremendously over the past few years. You're going to get an award from San Francisco, one of the fastest growing companies, not just PR, but companies in San Francisco.
Breaking news.
That's amazing. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I attribute that, first of all, to my colleagues who are tireless and work really hard. I think the thing is that we've been able to really create a virtual work from home model on a national scale that really caters to companies that are really looking to grow fast. And because of the sheer demand for that service, we've been able to really skyrocket.
Yeah. Okay. Well, congratulations. I'm proud of you. I've known you for a long time, so
thank you.
It's great to see you and great to see your success.
And great to be here in person.
It's awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much, Curtis.
Thanks.